The next question. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Abdul Sami from Dhaka, Bangladesh. My question is, Al-Quran has got so many scientific facts. One of those is about the light of the moon, which is reflected light, mentioned in Al-Quran, Surah Nur, chapter 25, verse number 61. But many atheists argue that this fact was discovered by Greek philosopher Anaxagoras between 4th and 5th century BC. Let me in answering it. Regarding question that the glorious Quran has mentioned several scientific facts, but some of them have already been discovered earlier. So the atheists say, I think great that is mentioned in the Quran, because the light being a reflected light, or the light being a borrowed light, as mentioned in the Quran in Surah Nur, chapter number 24, verse number 61, had already been mentioned by a Greek philosopher in 3rd and 15th century. From 3rd to the 15th, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, copied from it. So what is so great? First, you have to understand that there were many hypotheses floating for several centuries. Some were correct, some were wrong. Out of which most of them were wrong, only some were correct. And this has been going down the ages for centuries. Now for someone to pick up the exact correct one and say this is the correct one 1400 years ago, when science discovered recently, 30 years back, 40 years back, 50 years back, it is impossible. Let me tell you that at the time of this Greek philosopher that I mentioned, 3rd and 5th century, there were many other Greek philosophers, like Aristarchus, who was born in 325 BC. He said many things which weren't scientific. He said that the distance between the earth and the moon, as compared to the earth and the sun, the distance is 7 times more between the earth and the sun as compared to earth and the moon. And today we know it is 9 times. That means what he said was incorrect. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did not copy this mentioned in the Quran. He also said that the sun was about 20 times larger than the earth. Today we know that the sun is more than 400 times larger than the earth. Why didn't the Prophet copy this? So what you have to realize, that there were thousands of things mentioned, 3 centuries BC, 5 centuries BC, 5,000 years back, 2,000 years back, but out of which some were correct, almost all were wrong, few were correct, and few were not discovered at all. So out of those mentioned in the Quran, surely there may be 20%, 30% have been mentioned, but by someone which was not recognized. At that time, it was an established fact. In 3rd to the 5th century BC, it wasn't the established fact that the light of the moon was not its own light. People generally believe the light of the moon was its own. There was one Greek philosopher who said it, and I believe in that. But to say that Prophet Muhammad copied from that, one can be possible. At that time, even people believed in the geocentric theory, which was propounded by Ptolemy, that the earth is the center of the universe. Nowhere does the Quran say that the earth was the center of the universe. At that time, people believed that the sun revolved around the earth. Nowhere does the Quran say that. So what if you realize that to know that there were thousands of things mentioned, majority of which were false, and to pick up few out of them and then mention in the Quran, we have to go to mathematics. There's something known as the theory of probability. That means if I toss a coin, the chances that if I take a wild guess, it will be correct is 50%, 1 out of 2. Because the options are 2, either heads or tails. If the options are 2, and if I make a wild guess, the chances I'll be correct is 50%. That is 1 out of 2. If a dice has got 6 sides, if I make a wild guess, the chances that I'll be correct is 1 upon 6. Because there are 6 options. If I make a wild guess, the theory of probability says the chances I'll be correct is 1 upon 6. If I toss a coin and if I throw a die, the chances that I'll be correct both the times is 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 6. It is 1 upon 12. So the theory of probability works in this fashion. So now for the Prophet to say that the light of the moon was its own light or reflected light, the chances are 2. If you made a wild guess, the chance will be correct is 50%. Then we come to know you can think of 40 shapes of the earth, either flat, either square, either hexagonal, 40 shapes. Quran says it is spherical. It being correct is 1 upon 40. The chances that both are correct, the light of the moon is its own and the shape of the earth is spherical, is 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 40 is equal to 1 upon 80. The Quran says that every living thing is made from water. In Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 30. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. That He has created everything from water. Will you not then believe? Today, if you have to think how the living creatures are created from water, who would think that every living creature is made from water? You may think of sand, you may think of metal, you may think of wood. Who would think of water? You may think of 10,000 things that a living creature is created of, and one may be water. The chances that the Quran has mentioned water and it being correct is 1 upon 10,000. The chances that all three, if a wild guess is made and it being correct, is 1 upon 2, that the light of the moon is not its own light, it's a reflected light, and the shape of the earth is spherical, and every living thing is made from water, is 1 upon 2 into 1 upon 40 into 1 upon 10,000 equal to 1 upon 80,000. You know, how many zeros you can think. And today the theory of probability says that anything 10 raised to negative 9, 0.0001 0. Imagine the glorious Quran has got more than 6,000 verses, 6,000 signs, out of which more than 1,000 speak about science. And if you implement the theory of probability, that all these things came by fluke, it will be 0.00000, I don't know how many zeros. In the theory of probability, if there are 50 zeros, that is 10 raised to negative 50, it becomes 0. All these 1,000 things which are mentioned in the Quran, there will be hundreds of zeros. So I do agree with you that there was a Greek philosopher who did say that the light of the moon is not its own light, reflected light, but at that time, to prove that Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I've even spoken about scientific facts and also spoken about the theory of probability. For that, you can see my lecture along with the question and answer session, especially the one I gave in Malaysia. It's for about approximately 6 hours, and that will give you much more information.